Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with CNN News 18. I'm Shivani Gupta and I'm joining you live from Chennai, the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium, where, of course, the World Cup opener for India versus Australia is going to take place on Sunday. The Chepauk is a curious venue because India actually doesn't have a very strong record here as far as the ODI overall is concerned, while Australians have a very good record at the Chepauk. Even in the World Cup, the matches that the two sides have played have actually gone more in favour of Australia than India. But all of that counts for very little. As Rohit Sharma, the India captain, said in the pre-match press conference today, so many teams play so much in India now that there is very little of a home or an alien condition anymore. And no matter where you go, anywhere in the world, it's not like the conditions are so different that they will mean a lot. Having said that, of course, he did add that they will look at the pitch tomorrow to just get a sense of where it is at, because the pitch changes colour quite a bit at the Chepauk, as Rohit Sharma said. And while it may not determine their playing 11, which will be set by this evening, it could make a little bit of difference of how the batsmen and the bowlers approach the match tomorrow. So can India start with a bang? That's the big question. We will be joined by our experts Murli Karthik and Ayaz Memon in just a bit. But before that, let's set up this clash for you.
Chennai is all set to witness the battle of the contenders. An enticing opener for the men in blue versus the Kangaroos at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium. Just before the tournament kicked off, India defeated Australia in an ODI series. But both teams were cautious and didn't field their strongest teams. The Aussies will be very eager to play this match on the Chepauk ground because their record here has been quite excellent. The Australian team has so far played 6 one-day internationals in Chennai, winning 5 of them. Overall, 12 matches have been played between India and Australia in the World Cups, in which India has won only 4. But numbers will not make the visiting side complacent, as they know this Indian side is possibly the strongest in the competition. Chepauk's pitch is generally considered helpful to spinners, which will play to India's advantage. Having said that, in a blockbuster World Cup clash, it is the side that shines in moments of pressure that will come out on tops.
Let's go across to our guest joining us, Murli Karthik, former India cricketer, and cricket writer Ayaz Memon are with us. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Karthik, let me come to you. Does the venue play a very big role? Because the Chepauk, as we were mentioning, has an interesting history which actually favours the Aussies more than India. In fact, along with the fact that the Aussies have a better win-loss record here, as far as India versus Australia in the ODIs at Chepauk is concerned, they won 2 and India has won 1. Overall, of course, they lead India when it comes to the World Cup record as well. Would the venue be too much of a factor, you think, as we gear up for this World Cup opener for India?
Firstly, good evening, everyone, Shivani and Ayaz. Look, the teams will say that, look, it doesn't matter. And that's the bravado front. And ask any player, he'll say, oh, it doesn't matter. But a bad hangover is always a bad hangover. So you always have memories of not having done well on a certain venue. Why do players say, oh, every time I go to this venue, I seem to rekindle good memories, and so it is very good for me and I seem to do well. So collectively as a team as well, teams do remember, because you've got all the analysts who come and tell you that this is what it is, this is our record, this is what we did the last time. And in fact, so much so that recently, very recently in March, India lost badly. India couldn't chase down, 260 odd or something like that. And the Aussie spinners, Zampa bowled beautifully, in spite of the Indian spinners doing well. So they will have memory. Obviously, Australia is a strong side. Australia's record in India is outstanding. Notwithstanding the recent 2-1 loss, every time Australia come here, they punch well. And obviously, they have been a superb side in World Cup events. So all these teams keep these in mind. And even for Australia, it's a great memory. It's a great memory that you're playing the first game against the contenders. And this is the venue where we have done well.
Yes. Interestingly, Rohit Sharma did talk about what I mentioned at the start of the show, that, conditions aren't that different. Yes, little bit of difference is there. And no matter where you go in the world, it's not like it's an alien condition anymore. Add to that the fact, Ayaz, that the Aussies not just have played at Chepauk, they have a very favourable record in World Cup and in India, at the Chepauk especially. They also play in India a lot. So it's not just about the Chepauk. Anywhere else too, that whole... that whole element of surprise or not knowing the conditions or having alien conditions is out of the window now, because these players play in India so much during the IPL and otherwise. And Rohit Sharma also mentioned that the Aussies were smart in their strategy and in their planning, as they always are. They had 2 one-day series in India in the run-up to the One-Day World Cup in India. So they've had 2 series in India, while India, of course, in the last 3 series has also played in Australia. Australians are not going to come here in any way feeling out of sort at all. They will be feeling pretty gung-ho, especially with the prospect that Gill is not going to feature in tomorrow's match.
Shivani, actually they'll feel at home, because they, so many of them play in the IPL, as you know.
Yeah.
And in the past few years, they've come so often. This team, the Australian squad, about out of the 15, I think about 10 of them have been regulars coming to India, or maybe 11, 12. They've been coming to India regularly. Somebody like even Manas Labuschagne, who's not been part of the ODI squad, he just got inducted into the squad very recently. But he's come here as a test cricketer. So and there's so much discussion which happens about Indian conditions when the teams come here and they play, or the players come here and they play about in the IPL. So they know the conditions very well, whether it's Chepauk or Lucknow or Mumbai or wherever else they might play. And they also know the Indian opposition extremely well. And this is where I think it gets very intriguing and fascinating, because in the last 5 matches, as you know, India have won 3. But the last match that was played in that series, Australia have won. So they kind of turned the momentum around a bit heading into the World Cup. How much of an advantage that is, we'll have to wait and see. You might see actually 2 star players not there, Gill for India and maybe Stoinis for Australia. But I think that the contest between these 2 teams over the past 4-5 years across formats has been really intense. We keep talking of the Indo-Pak rivalry, and there's so much melodrama and it is very high octane stuff. But the India-Australia rivalry has really become, it loses nothing in intensity on the cricket field, I can tell you that.
Yes, absolutely. So just to take our viewers through some of the recent results, obviously one series was played just in the month gone by, a 3-match series where India won the first two matches convincingly, but Australia won the last one convincingly as well, and they are coming off with a win under their belt versus India in that sense. In the series before that, in March in India, India won the first match of that series, but the Aussies won the last 2, and they won the series 2-1. And then there was a series in Australia in November, December. It's been a while, of course. In that, the Aussies again beat India 2-1. So in the last 3 series that the 2 countries have played, Australia has had a dominating hand, including 1 series in India. In the last 2 series at least that were played this year, Kartik, what did we find out about each team? How was the contest for you?
I think one of the best things about Australian teams is that, look, they are always a well-oiled machinery. You can compare this team to the teams of the past. Those teams used to win regularly wherever they went. It was very similar to the West Indies teams of the past, where they could go anywhere in the world and they would dominate world cricket. So Australia did do that for a big period of time, and then there was a big paradigm shift in the way Australia started thinking and the Australians started playing. In spite of that, even if you take not just the last year, even the last 2 or 3 years, every time Australia have come, they have been the better team, maybe because of the fact that it's no longer alien, as Ayaz mentioned and you mentioned. There are so many of their players who come and ply their trade in IPL. There are so many tours to India. Compare the number of tours India makes to Australia and to the number of tours Australia makes to India, or the Australians make to India. So once you get familiar with the conditions, you're no longer in awe, or the factor that India used to be the final frontier for most teams. I think that has gone away, or that line has sort of been erased to a certain extent. So from an Indian point of view, look, we have always had this over the last 2-3 years. Do we have the best 11 playing? maybe not. We always have the odd niggle. We always have the odd workload management, as we like to call it. So it's never the best 11 playing. So for me, the Australians, obviously, they have a better record. They have that feeling that they can come and perform well in India, and I think that is where it stands. Again, you look at this current side; they are brilliant. Yeah, we've been talking about how good they are. They've covered all their bases. They're very good in the bowling unit. They're very good in the batting unit, and they're coming off a series win. That is the most important thing. You can say Australia was not at full strength. You can say India was not at full strength. At the end of the day, it's a series victory.
Yes, absolutely. You know, interesting you mentioned about niggles and all. So one of the questions, of course, Rohit Sharma was asked at the press conference today was, is everybody fit? Now that question was meant for Gill, obviously. But Rohit Sharma came out and said, you know, yes, everybody is fit. So we were surprised a little bit. Is he saying Gill is fit as well? So then we asked him about Gill. He said, no. Gill, of course, is sick. But as far as injuries go, everybody is fit. There is no niggle.
Yeah,
so Karthik, I think you would like to note that. That is what the Indian captain has announced at the start of the tournament. There are no niggles.
Yeah, so there is a difference between injured and unwell. You have to make that demarcation. So
yes.
Unwell could be fever, sick, whatever. Injury is what you're talking about, fitness.
Absolutely. So we did, of course, ask him about Gill, and it was very interesting. He mentioned at one time that, see, I feel for him. He's a young guy. He was in good form, of course. And I, as a human, I first want him to get better, and then not as a captain to think that, oh, he should play tomorrow. I want him to get better. So that was a nice touch from Rohit Sharma today. But also, let's listen in very quickly to what he said on Gill's fitness or availability overall. Listen in.
Gill is not 100%, but he's sick. So there's no injury concern. So Gill is not feeling well. We are monitoring him on a daily basis. So we're going to give him every chance to recover and see how he feels. So he's not ruled out yet.
Not ruled out yet, but it looks very, very unlikely. Yesterday also Rahul Dravid had said we'll leave it at the last minute to see. I don't know how much more last minute can you get any more. But they haven't really announced that he's ruled out completely. But I don't think there's much left to imagination. Interesting thing is, Karthik, just till maybe 3 years ago, there used to be another batsman who used to dominate the conversation when it came to Team India. And I think one of the examples of how different scenario is today, or maybe for the last 2 to 3 years, is the fact that we haven't discussed this particular gentleman in detail till now. So I'm reserving a little bit of time for Virat Kohli now. And so much conversation has happened for Gill and others and bowlers and this and that we actually have to acknowledge the fact that Virat Kohli is also one of the top batsmen in the world. He has great pedigree and great class, which is permanent. And Karthik, he has a stupendous record against Australia. So if there's one thing the Australians would not be very happy about, it's the fact that they have to face Virat Kohli.
It's not just Virat alone, Shivani. It's the entire Indian team. They've just had them. They've just faced them. They know exactly what everybody is capable of. Yes, Shubman Gill is an up-and-coming star. He has set the world alight in the last 14 months. And that's what you want. You want people to carry the baton or the baton, whichever way you want to pronounce it, from the likes of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli have been the undisputable heavyweights, white ball greats of Indian cricket. No question about that. And it's a good thing. Look, there are other channels and there are lots of people taking care of Virat Kohli. So don't worry about that. Maybe we have not spoken about Virat, but there are enough and more people talking about Virat, and that's how it should be. Because look, he has earned it. You earn it. When Sachin was playing, everybody used to talk about Sachin because he was the biggest star, and the entire nation used to pray when he was going out to bat. So is the case with Virat Kohli. And sometimes you set the benchmark. People start expecting things out of you. As they always used to say, if you're a 39-40 out of 100 in a question paper or in an exam, people don't expect too much. But when you're constantly getting 97, 98, 99 out of 100 and you slip to 80 or 70, then people will say, oh, he has failed. So that has been the benchmark which Virat Kohli has set for himself. You sometimes become a marker for your own self. And it's a good thing. I'm pretty sure that Virat himself, if you ask him, he'll be happy that there are others who are being talked about, because he's been there for years now. People are constantly talking about him and will continue to talk about him. And as you rightly said, his record for the against the team, I think you're supporting Australia because you're wearing yellow. It is very, very good. So
No, these are Chennai colours.
Okay, Chennai. I will accept that.
I was going to ask you exactly this, Karthik. Do you think a guy like Virat used to relish in that situation where he was the anchor of the team and everybody used to just look at him before a big match or a big tournament? Or do you think he's also relishing, or it could work in his favour now, the fact that all the pressure about scoring a big 100 is not on Virat alone?
Look, all these big guys always relish pressure. Pressure is a privilege for most of these big players. And I think that is why they thrive under those pressure conditions or pressure cooker conditions. And someone like Virat, when you make him the center of all eyes, he's still going to thrive because they have their own expectations of themselves. And now, if you don't talk about him, that is also work or spur him to say, oh, you're not talking about me. I'll make sure that tomorrow I am the headlines. Because those are the kind of what should I say, ingredients these guys are made of. Some of the greatest players in the world will always thrive, whether you speak about them or you don't speak about them.
And let's not forget Rohit Sharma. And the occasion for him, Ayaz, he mentioned this in the press conference as well, that it's one thing to be part of a World Cup team. It's quite another to have the privilege to lead a World Cup side. And he said that this is the biggest event he has ever played, and winning the World Cup is the biggest prize you can play for. So there's a lot of hunger in the team and with each individual player, and that as a batsman he will do whatever it takes, whatever is needed of him to win India that title. So that hunger is clearly there in the side, Ayaz.
Oh, absolutely. And remember, he started his international career with, as part of the World T20 team under Dhoni, which won the title. So he had very early experience of what it means to be part of a winning team. And then 2011, he wasn't part of the squad. He's one of those, lost out on a place by a very slender margin, because I think there were, options, Yuvraj, Piyush Chawla, Raina, etc., whatever. But since then, since 2011, he's just grown phenomenally in stature as a batsman. Now he's got the leadership also. I think this is something that, cricketers, when they start out, they would like to believe that they'll be part of a team, play for India, play for the country, and then at some stage, if possible, lead the team. He's got both those things now. He's a stellar batsman. He had 5 centuries in the last World Cup. He's captaining the team. He's got a lot on his plate, and I think we're seeing a very different Rohit in the last maybe 12, 15, 18 months, because he seems to be now relishing this job even more. They're all getting on in years, Virat and Rohit, and they all know that they don't have 3 World Cups in them. Maybe this one, maybe one more at the most. So this is the time for them to, to go out and get everything that they want to be done properly.
Yes. Well, for some of them, this is going to be possibly the last ODI World Cup. And I think that sense is there in the senior lot, that this is our final chance possibly. We know, as Rohit mentioned, we know what the World Cup meant to Sachin Tendulkar, for example, and him to finally be able to do this in 2011. And there will be a lot of individuals in this team also who would be looking for that last hurrah, if I can call it that. Let's also shift our attention to what we can look forward to as far as the batting lineup tomorrow is concerned, given that Gill could be out. Graham Swan was with us yesterday. I want to quickly play out where he stood as far as the Ishan Kishan versus KL Rahul as an opener question was concerned, and then we'll come back to our live guests as well. Graham, Ishan has relatively less experience in one-day format opening for India, but in the 5 matches that he has a strike rate of over 100 and an average of over 50. In comparison, KL Rahul has played more matches as an opener, almost 16 one-dayers for India. His average is very good at a 48. The strike rate is a little bit lower. Who is the preferred opener for you in this case?
Me, I'd definitely go with the left-hander. I think KL Raoul's a fantastic player, superb player, and you know what you're going to get. Ishan Kishan is a younger guy coming through, very exciting, probably a bit more exciting. as he has a few more of the modern T20 shots. And I'm not saying KL Rahul doesn't have all of those. But personally, I always think a left-right combination at the top is very important, especially against a team like Australia with the left-arm swing of Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins. They love having batsmen, right-handed batsmen especially. They can swing it in to the stumps, smash them on the front pad, get LBs and balls. I think having a left-hander just throws them off a little bit. If you've got Rohit at one end and then a lefty at the other, swinging becomes more difficult to keep your line and length. So I would take that into consideration. I would definitely go for Ishan at the top.
Most of our other guests also tended to agree with him. So I have a few minutes left. I'll devote that to the other match that is going on right now, because I think, Karthik, that deserves our attention. I remember in our World Cup opening preview, I had stuck my neck out to say that I will pick South Africa as the dark horses of this competition. And look at the score they have made again. They've made 428 for 5 in their match against Sri Lanka in Delhi, with Markram scoring the fastest World Cup century now in 54 balls. Stupendous performance from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you can't discount them ever. Again, South Africa are a strong side. South Africa, again, coming into this tournament on the bank of some impressive performances against just the team you were talking about, Australia. It's not about home conditions or whatever. It's about playing good cricket against a good side. And that's what they've done. Again, they've got plenty of players, Markram included, Heinrich Klaassen, Quinton de Kock. So there are so many players who have come and experienced Indian conditions. Again, it's just the start of a tournament. You have to remember that at the crucial time, when the time is extremely crucial, that's when you need to see how teams perform under pressure. It's the question about South Africa has never been how good they are. It's about how good they will perform. Yes. Once that crucial time comes, and that's about it. Again, I'm with you. I'm a big fan of the kind of players that they have. Yes, the likes of Andrik Nortje, he's not part of it. That would have actually bolstered that bowling lineup. But they're a strong side. They're a strong batting side. And yes, they have a few weaknesses in their bowling, but they've got some real good bowlers apart from that or around the others.
Right. I've got, I think, barely a minute left. Ayaz, you want to come in on the South African performance as well?
I think they've got a batting lineup which is in very rich form. Klaassen and David Miller, let's not forget him. As Karthik mentioned, they're also familiar with Indian conditions. I think the issue really is you have to sustain form for 6 weeks. It's not just winning one match. You have to maintain and sustain this form and maybe actually gather momentum, perform better towards the latter half, because that's how you win championships. It's not a winning start is always good, but how you play through the length and duration of the tournament is really the key. Whether South Africa have that much stamina, we'll have to wait and see.
All right, on that perfect cue, I've got loud music now starting behind me from the Chepauk. They're preparing. All the last minute preparations are ongoing for tomorrow's big match, India versus Australia. A reminder for our viewers to join us at 1 p.m. tomorrow, an hour before the match, with all of our experts. We've got Murli Karthik, Ayaz Memon, Venkatesh Prasad, Mohinder Amarnath and Graham Swan all joining us full strength tomorrow and during the mid-innings and post-match as well. On that note, thank you gentlemen for your time today, and goodbye to our viewers.